This is Agincourt, a town in northern France.
Hi, I'm Donald Livingston. On October 24th, 1415, the nobles of France assembled an army that would prevent Henry V of England from ever returning to his home country. The French army, consisting of 36,000 men, outnumbered the English 4-1, as the English only numbered 9,000. Henry would fight for the crown of France and his own here at Agincourt.
Now, with new video game technology, you are about to witness this epic battle as never before. The immense size of the armies, the formations of the troops, how they fought, and how the battle was won. Get the view that the generals wished they would have had, now on Deciding Battles.
In the spring of 1414, Henry V of England claimed the crown of France through his grandfather Edward III. The French responded with the terms of 600,000 crowns and the province of Aquitaine. Henry disliked these terms, and on August 13, 1415, he invaded France. Henry's army besieged the port of Harfleur. The town surrendered on the 22nd of September, and the army did not leave until the 8th of October. Instead of returning the way he came, Henry decided to march through the province of Normandy, from Harfleur to Calais, the English stronghold in northern France.
On October 24th, 1415, the army of England marched into the town of Agincourt, tired and diseased, and casualties were mounting every day.
The English consisted of only 1,500 men-at-arms, but 7,000 archers.
The French army was 36,000 strong, 20,000 men-at-arms, and 10,000 knights on horseback. The field of battle had been rained on, muddy, and was surrounded by woods on either side to prevent either army from outflanking the other. The French were more than happy to sit where they were, waiting for reinforcements. Henry knew he had to move fast, so he moved his army up from its previous position. There they reinstalled the long wooden stakes to protect the longbowmen from cavalry charges. Within 300 yards of the enemy, the archers began the engagement with a long range of arrows. The French cavalry charged the longbowmen, but it was an epic failure. The French knights could not outflank the bowmen because of the wood. The wounded and panicked horses charged through the advancing infantry, scattering them. Nevertheless, the French infantry continued their headlong charge toward the English line, under a heavy hail of arrows.
To protect themselves from arrows, the French lowered their visors and heads so that they could not be shot through with the arrows. This made it hard for them to breathe and see, while wearing 60 pounds of armor weighing down on them while tramping through a muddy field. Also, they were being pushed around by their comrades.
The plate armor of the Frenchmen allowed them to close the 300 yards to the English lines while being under fire. But the mud they were crossing made it difficult to advance, especially as they were weighed down by their armor.
The surviving French men-at-arms reached the English line, and the archers, having no room to shoot, drew their swords and joined the melee. Their light armor providing a great advantage in mobility over the French's heavy armor.
The impact of thousands of arrows, the march through the mud, the heat and the lack of oxygen inside their armor, and the crush from their comrades around them, meant that the French men-at-arms were thoroughly exhausted and scarcely able to lift their swords when they finally engaged the English line.
The French were killed or captured in their thousands. The fighting lasted about 3 hours, but eventually the leaders were taken alive. And the rest of the French reserves, having seen so many of their nobility captured and killed, lost all hope of victory and promptly fled the field.
Henry returned a conquering hero in the eyes of his subjects and in the eyes of European powers outside of France. It established the legitimacy of his monarchy and his campaigns to pursue his rights and privileges inside France. It took several more years campaigning, but eventually Henry was able to recognize all of his objectives. The French recognized him as the heir and regent to the throne of France, and in 1420 he became King of France. However, he died at the age of 36. When his infant son Henry VI became King of France, the Dauphin, who controlled the southern part of the country, rebelled and took France back for his own.